are we today? I hope all of you liked my new intro. I commissioned an artist on Instagram called Sunshine UI Arts on Instagram. Please check them out because they did amazing. Their link will be in the description below. Ableism and cosplay. I feel like it isn't talked about enough. Ableism can mean many different things. It can stem from the belief that people think that people with disabilities don't hold any other value other than what they can't do. It's the belief that disabled people are less than, that they don't hold the same value as an able-bodied person. This can display itself as more outward, harassing people in public for their use of mobility aids or for a visible disability, or one would pity another for their disability, treating them as if they don't hold personal autonomy. Disabled cosplayers come in all shapes and sizes, visible and invisible disabilities and all. Unfortunately, their existence comes with many forms of ableism, even coming from other cosplayers.
I have done very little research about this. Almost none. I just saw a video from a very big cosplayer. The wheelchair bit wasn't necessary, and I think you know that.
Now, I think the person who stitched this video was absolutely in the right, but I would like to add on to their commentary. That cosplayer that was shown in the beginning was absolutely ableist, as we had just discussed what the term means. They looked at another cosplayer in a wheelchair and thought that they were so below them that how could have they been beaten in a competition, and genuinely thought people would be on their side after posting this. The fact that ableism, especially in cosplay, has been so normalized that this person thought that everyone would be on their side after posting this absolutely baffles me. And it still confuses me if it was rage bait, although it confuses me in general. And the fact of the matter is, you'll see able-bodied cosplayers walking around conventions with mobility aids, trying to cosplay their favorite disabled cosplayer, without being disabled themselves. And no, the problem isn't that able-bodied cosplayers are taking away mobility aids from actually disabled people. Mobility aids are expensive, but not a limited item. Whoever thinks this is the problem, they've completely missed the point.
I don't know who told able-bodied people that the reason they can't cosplay disabled characters because the crutch, cane, or wheelchair that they're buying to use for the cosplay is taking away from disabled people, so it's fine if they just make their own. Because it's not. That's not the problem. The problem isn't you're taking away an aid from a disabled person. I don't know who told you guys that crutches, canes, and wheelchairs were like a non-renewable source, because they aren't. They're hard to get actual good, real working ones, but they're not a non-renewable source. Just because you use one for your cosplay doesn't mean a disabled person suddenly doesn't have accessibility to a cane. The reason you can't crip up for your cosplay is because it's offensive, not because it takes away from a disabled person's aid. If you make the crutch or cane, it's still just as offensive if you bought it. You are not cosplaying a disabled person, you are cosplaying a disability. Disabled people, now when we go to conventions and stuff, we have to run our crutches, our canes, and our wheelchairs through prop check. And if the guards or the security or whatever, whoever's checking it, decides that it doesn't pass prop check, they can take it away. And yes, that's against ADA regulations and everything, but we can't fight that battle in that moment. They take our mobility away. If we threaten a lawsuit or whatever, they're still not going to let us into the convention. It doesn't matter, because don't know if you know this, most places don't care what is and what isn't against ADA regulations. Part of the problem for why you can't cosplay disabled people is because you will never understand what it's like to have our disability. You have the energy to cosplay. You wake up and go, oh, I want to cosplay this character, and then you do. Most disabled people can't do that.
The problem is that pretending to use or need mobility aids to cosplay is disrespectful, especially to people who have disabilities and need mobility aids, and then have them taken away from them at cons because the staff mistake them for props.
Whenever I ask able-bodied cosplayers not to use canes as accessories as part of their cosplay, I will almost always hear a response of, what about a character like CL Phantom Hive who doesn't need it though? Canes have been used for aesthetic purposes for decades, but within the cosplay community there is unfortunately quite the issue of ableism, particularly within convention security staff who assume that all particularly younger people using mobility aids at conventions are purely using them as a prop. As a cane user at conventions, I have had my cane that I was using taken literally out of my hand to check my prop, and on 2 separate occasions I've been almost denied entry because I was using a cane, and I don't think it's fair that we should have to spill our medical history to a stranger to just be allowed to use an aid in a public setting. Sadly, as an able-bodied cosplayer, even if you only use canes for characters such as CL who don't need them, this confusion will continue to get worse. So, can you use it? If it's a photo shoot outside of a con, absolutely, please go for it. It will look absolutely fantastic. But if it's at a convention, I think it's a better move as an ally to go without if your country also suffers with ableism.
Disabled cosplayers, or disabled people in general, often face emotional and physical exhaustion, dealing with a world that doesn't care to accommodate them, and with people who think mimicking their disability is perfectly okay. Another point I want to make is that people will often tell cosplayers to cosplay a character that is disabled just like them.
Why is it that every time that you buffoons see a disabled cosplayer, your first instinct is to tell them to cosplay a disabled character? The other day I made a completely normal cosplay post of myself in my wheelchair because, you know, I use a wheelchair, and then somebody was in my comment section and was like, hey, do you take cosplay requests? I said, sure, why not? And then they said, you should cosplay Sculptor from Identity V, and I did a quick little Google search and tell me why the crap this is the Sculptor. I don't understand why it's the first instinct for able-bodied people to see a disabled cosplayer or just any disabled person in general and be like, you should dress up like a person that's disabled because you're not normal. As a disabled cosplayer, I want you able-bodied people to know that disabled cosplayers are going to cosplay whoever the fuck they want. I just recently cosplayed Senku Ishigami. Do you think that they had powered wheelchairs in the Stone Age? I think the heck not, except Senku would probably make one, actually. Who am I kidding? And yeah, I do cosplay disabled characters sometimes because I like the character, not just because of the fact that they're disabled. Moral of the story is telling a person that they can or can't cosplay a character that they want to just because the way that they look is weird as hell, and y'all should be put on a list.
But the point was never about accuracy. I don't get why that's such a profound thought to some people. And I guess there never really was a point to cosplay as long as you're having fun. This includes being empathetic and not hurting a whole community with your idea of accuracy. Now, I recently interviewed a disabled cosplayer. Her username is Danny the Hermit, who agreed to answer a few questions for this video. I'm so inspired by her and her efforts, the effort she puts into her cosplays and the community. I highly recommend checking her out. Her links will be in the description. Question 1. What is your opinion on able-bodied cosplayers using mobility aids just for the purpose of cosplaying a disabled character? Danny: I really don't want able-bodied people to use mobility aids that they don't need. Like, I wish I could only use my mobility aids that I don't need. It's kind of also mocking people with actual disabilities. Life would be easier if I didn't actually need a cane, walker, or wheelchair. It's very awful to see, honestly. It's like they're pretending to be sick and then doing a backflip. Question 2. How integral is it to be accurate to a cosplay? Many people believe accuracy is important. What do you have to say to that? Danny: I don't go for accuracy. I'm a black cosplayer, so I'm going to be wrong. It's whatever. Question 3. What are your personal experiences with ableism while cosplaying? Danny: So a personal experience with ableism is people making "why don't you just stand up for yourself" type jokes because they think I'm paralyzed from the waist down. Another one is people think I bought these mobility aids or a wheelchair cosplay and think I'm not actually disabled. Then I have to explain my little script of what's wrong with me and then they automatically apologize. Or when people play the game, find the fake disabled person, and then target me because I was standing in one video and then sitting in another. That's just some of the surface stuff. Danny brought up a lot of good points, and upon writing this video, it gave me more topics to talk about. With the rise of cosplayers faking disability and using mobility aids, it puts a target on actual disabled cosplayers. All of a sudden, people feel as if they have the right to know about cosplayers' disabilities. And if they don't explain themselves, they risk the accusation of faking their disability. There's also a misunderstanding about disabilities in general. Jenny had expressed herself, people assume that she's paralyzed from the waist down. And this is because she uses a wheelchair. Unfortunately, many disabled people face the same misconceptions about their own mobility aids. Now, I remember when I was in high school. I had just gotten corrective surgery for my hip dysplasia, and my hip saw that's when my hip socket wasn't covering the entire hip joint. This caused chronic and severe pain, mainly throughout my years. The recovery time, supposed to take a few months, took a year. This doesn't include my other hip, whose thankfully recovery time only lasted about a few months. This recovery time had me in a wheelchair for months, and my school couldn't care less about other disabled students, including myself. Never mind the bullying, the school was not only too big to get around on time, but the tools like automatic doors never worked, and I couldn't get to class. I'm not saying it was anyone's responsibility to help me, but all I'm saying is it would have been nice if someone would have just hold the door open. The bullying usually consisted of comments made out loud to me when I passed in the hallways. Nothing too severe, but being in pain 24/7 on top of it all made me a little sensitive, okay? My last surgery was a year or two ago, and I am in no way blaming the surgeon. He was amazing, but I really thought I'd have no pain by now. I have a permanent and very obvious limp whenever I walk. Like the months or possibly year of being in physical therapy hasn't changed much. My point is, besides the small violin playing in the background, that dealing with my own disabilities without the outside people and the environment making it worse was hell. And I can't imagine the pain that people with more permanent disabilities that can't be helped or fixed, I can't imagine what they must go through on a daily basis. I was very lucky to have the resources I did to be able to get corrective surgery, to be able to go to physical therapy. I can't say the same for many disabled people. I was hesitant to even write this video because my own disability was supposed to be fixed, but I can say from my own experiences at least that I agree with what disabled people are saying. The faking the need or usage of mobility aids is mocking, to say the least. I understand the need to be as accurate as you can to a cosplay, but the fact of the matter is, you'll never be exactly accurate or the same as character anyway. I always encourage changing certain aspects of a character to better suit your style or needs because accuracy is overrated anyway. I just wonder when it was decided that a cosplay's value is summed up to how accurate it is to the character, cosplayer included. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and thank you again to Danny the Hermit for agreeing to do an interview for this video. I'm so grateful that she gave me her thoughts, and working with her was such a pleasure. I really hope you visit her TikTok page, which I will link in the description. And thank you again to Sunshine Oi Arts on Instagram for animating my new intro. It's so cute and I love it so much. If you liked this video, please consider subscribing as it really helps the channel grow. Or comment your thoughts below. I need topics for other videos, so please give me your thoughts. And that's all for today's episode of Cosplay and Commentary. Bye now!